Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Defund the Devil. I didn't think I was going to be back this early, but hey, I finally got the answer that I was looking for from an honest Quran-only Muslim, okay? Quran-only Muslims are people who literally just read the book alone. They do not go outside of the book at all. I mean, it's even to the point where they literally will not have a conversation with you about the history of Muhammad. The things he said and did outside of the Quran do not matter to them. The compilation and the preservation of the Quran historically does not matter to them. And it is so crazy and it's mind-boggling. And to be honest, these people are honestly, it's kind of interesting, but then it's kind of like just a foolish position. I'm almost burnt out having a conversation with them because it's basically like, hey, any random person can come up to you and give you a book and you're going to believe that it's from God because they said so and you like what you read in it. But then you're not going to take the time to actually test that person and see where is that person from, what kind of things did he do, is he legit, and what are the things that he also said outside of this, right? So with that being said, I've been speaking to Quran only Muslims and I finally got him to say that he would not be a Muslim if he accepted the hadith system. Why is this important? Because majority of the time, Quran only Muslims, they like to lie. They like to act as if they don't have a problem with the hadith system. They just don't want to go into it because the Quran says so. The Quran says don't go into it. The Quran says the Quran is enough. And because you have the Sunnah and you have Shias who follow things outside of the Quran, which is attributed to Muhammad, Quran only Muslims have a problem with that. So let's get into the video. I'm going to play the conversation that I had with a Quran only Muslim and you will see how it ended.
The Sunnah is the statements and actions of the Prophet, which took place at a point in time in history. And I'm asking Quran only Muslims, why do they reject that? What is in there that is making them reject all of the things that these people are saying that this guy has done and said? It doesn't make any sense if you follow this guy. You took the book that he brought to you. Allah brought it, I get that. I'm saying, but you know, through his words and things like that. But what I'm saying is what in the world is making you reject this?
Okay, what is making us rejecting it is they lie on the Prophet, making the Prophet adding stuff that Allah never told him to do. Like they will say the Prophet added something to the religion of Islam that Allah never told him to do. So that's why we are rejecting. Not that we are rejecting the messenger, we are rejecting the lies that they put on the messenger, saying that the messenger did it. That's what we are rejecting. Example, when they bring about the wudu, talking about the abolition stuff. The Prophet was ordained to when he rises up to pray, he should wash his face, wash his hand to the elbow, wipe his hair, and wash his feet. But they said when the Prophet wanted to start, he washed his hand, washed his mouth, washed his nose, meaning he added something that Allah did not tell him to do. That's all they want us to believe in, and that's the reason why we don't also want to believe it, because Allah ordered him to first taking him out of America, be upright on what I've commanded you. So whatever Allah is going to tell him to do, that's the exact thing that he's going to do. He's not going to add something to it. He's not going to take out something out of it. That's the reason why we don't want to take those books, because the Prophet never did what they are saying the Prophet did. That's it.
But we're told to refer back to Allah and the Messenger to know what was referred back. How would we follow? Didn't know.
Okay, let's say we are at the time of the Messenger, and we are having an argument. Let's say let me bring an example. Like, let's say according to Salat, we are having an argument according to Salat, and the Messenger is around, and we are supposed to refer back to him when we are having a dispute. When we go to the Messenger, he's not going to judge us according to his own desires.
Governor, that doesn't make it. Governor, that doesn't make any sense, because
thank you. Give me.
Let me show you why. Because when you explain something to somebody and you are basically given revelation, not everybody's going to understand. And not everybody did understand when he was given revelations, even according to the Quran, which is the reason why you have verses like chapter 16:44, where it says he will explain and make clear what he's bringing to the people. right? Would you like me to? I'm gonna read. I'm gonna just read it.
I know the verse you're talking of. I know the verse.
I'm gonna read it. So we sent them with clear proofs and divine books, and we have sent down to you, O prophet, the reminder, so that you may explain to the people what. So you may explain to people what has been revealed for them, and perhaps they will reflect. Now, everybody knows, we're all grown here. We know that when you explain something to somebody, you don't just reread it. So if I read you a sentence and you say, well, what does that mean? What's going on here? Why are you saying this? I'm not going to reread the sentence. I'm going to explain to you what the sentence means, and then maybe later on, then I'll reread it so you can get a better understanding. But for the most part, when you explain something to somebody, you don't just say the same thing over and over again. You elaborate. And that's exactly what he did. And I mean, you'd have to be, foolish to believe that he was literally just reciting these verses and then that's it. And when people had questions, he just literally recited it again. That's not going to make somebody understand it. And so when you go to, I'm going to add on to this, and it's not moving, it's not taking us anywhere else, but I'm going to add onto this. Chapter 58, verse 12 in the Quran. So when you go to chapter 58, verse 12 in the Quran, you'll see that these people are having private consultations with Muhammad. These people are having, they're wanting to ask him things, right? So it says, "O believers, when you consult the messenger privately, give something in charity before your consultation." Okay, and so you'd have to be foolish to believe that whatever they were asking him about, the majority of it, you'd have to be foolish to believe that they weren't talking to him about the things that he was revealing, and things that had to do with the religion, in which this is where you would get these statements outside of the Quran from, because as we know, if you believe he existed, this man spoke, he used his mouth, he talked, he did things. And so, this is the reason why I critiqued Gulid in the way that I did, because I don't understand why these, you Quran only Muslims are playing hide and seek with your religion. Like, just be honest, bro. Just be honest. You don't like what's being said in the history. I heard what you said too. You said that. But dude, bro, just be honest. You don't need to hide and duck under the covers from it, bro. Just address it and try to figure it out. But don't outright reject all history, bro.
I don't know why we are using those words. You can talk normally. We're not using someone you were foolish to think of this or all this. No.
What did I foolish?
No, yeah, but
that's not a disrespectful word. Foolish. Okay, it's not a disrespectful word.
No worries. When you are talking about the explanation, so whenever someone is going to explain, that means the person has to add some stuff to it just to make you understand very well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you understand. That's what we all know as something that when they say explain, let's say and I told you to wash your maybe the example. The reason why I'm using this example, because that's what I really know much about it. That people and the Sunnis are trying to make it as if like the Prophet brought something new. So the reason why I was talking about, let's say someone said the Prophet wash his face, and we know the mouth and the nose all is included to the face. So when we are going to say the Prophet is going to explain it, he's going to say you have to put water in your mouth and your nose, which is going to be explained, meaning it's going to add something, because Allah did not say it in that text that you should do that. But in this verse, the reason why, and that's why I brought chapter number 11, verse number 112, where Allah told him, be upright on what I've commanded you. So when the Prophet is commanded to do something, you brought the verse of little beginner in Nas, that he has to explain it to the people. At the same time, there are so many verses that we find in the Quran that Allah said that he explained it in his book. The explanation can be found in its book. So when Allah said, he said exactly what he wanted the Prophet to do, that's what he has to do. When people say something else that the Prophet did, we are not supposed to agree with that. That's the difference. And you were talking about so many verses that he has to explain it. If he has to explain it, that means he has to add. We have so many verses that Allah.
I never said that. I never said him explaining it. He has to add.
But when you say explaining, meaning he has to explain it. Meaning he has to add something to that explanation so that someone will understand, right? That's what explanation all is. You have to add something to it. Even when
that doesn't mean he necessarily added to the verse. That just means he explained it.
Okay,
So if he's
hold on.
explaining,
I'm
if I
gonna
bring
this
you,
example back.
so
I'm gonna
wait,
this example.
one second. Let me add this. For example, right? You guys go to the minor stuff. I'm major with it, bro. I don't do the little stuff, right? Because they're Muslims, so they're just gonna ask you the questions, within the Islamic, circle, right? Because they're not gonna ask you the questions that I'm gonna ask you. I'm asking you this because look, I actually agree, bro. I actually do agree. I do feel some type of way about quote unquote revelation being outside of the Quran. You do have statements that they claim he made outside of the Quran, which weren't revelation. I've had a conversation about that before too, right? But we can dissect that with Sunnis. Right now, at this point, what you're doing is literally rejecting every single thing that's being said outside of your book, which is foolish. Because at the end of the day, these things were being said and being explained for a specific reason, because these verses were revealed for a specific reason at a specific point in time to a specific person, right? And so some of these verses have history and backstories to them in which no one knew anything about what he was talking about. This is just the understanding of the Quran, right? Muhammad didn't know anything about it. He couldn't read or write. He was just receiving verses. How can a person like this know about this stuff? Okay, cool. Well, when people asked him, if Muhammad didn't really know about the things that he was revealing, then how could the people that are listening to it know about what he was revealing? So when they ask him these questions, he has to elaborate and say, well, I'm revealing this verse because of this. This verse came to me because of this. What does this verse mean? This verse means this, this, and that. That's the only logical way that anyone can understand. Because this is just how explaining and making things clear work, in which in 1644, that's what they claim he did. In 459, that's exactly what Allah tells you to do. Refer it back to him, right? And so this is where you get these statements from. But, ultimately, Quran-only Muslims are ashamed of what they find in the hadith system, so they just turn a blind eye to it all and act like the Sunni Muslims are doing something wrong for following it. And so that's the problem that I'm having. So when you're talking to me, just know I'm not worried about the prayer and how many extra prayers and all that, bro. I can care less about that. I'm more so worried about you turning a blind eye to things that you know is wrong, right? You've seen a bunch of things in the hadith system, and a bunch of Quran only Muslims have seen a bunch of things that they don't like in the hadith system that people claim Muhammad said and did. But instead of saying, dang, I don't know if I'd follow a person that do that, you're gonna say, I think that they're lying about saying that he did that. And what you're going to do is say, no, I every single person that had anything to do with the historical recording of Muhammad, I'm just going to say that they're lying. That literally makes no sense, bro. Like no historian would look at you serious by saying that. Because I saw a few things in here I didn't like. I'm going to reject all of the history of the people that recorded this about this man. That's my point, bro. So understand what I'm trying to get you to do. You're 1 foot in and 1 foot out of your religion by accepting the Quran and throwing away the history of the man that brought it to you. Simply because you're ashamed of what they said he said and did. That's on you.
I'll be honest with you. If I'm to accept the histories about Islam and how everything, and to accept everything, I'm not gonna be a Muslim, to be honest with you.
Thank you. I was to accept that's the point. That's the point that I was trying to make. So there we go. Now you're honest, bro.
If I'm to accept it, if I'm to accept it,
now you're honest.
To be honest with you.
All right. As you see, he finally admitted it. This is what I've been waiting for a while. Out of all these conversations, it finally popped up. So as you guys can see, this 1 foot in, 1 foot out mentality is foolish. Just crazy. If you're not going to respect the history that has been recorded about your prophet, you might as well just throw the book away. And that's all I gotta say. This video has been long enough. Thank you guys. Peace.